Hello, my name is Dr. Strickland, and welcome to our Theology 2 summer online course. Just wanted to take a little bit of time to introduce myself, but also introduce you to the syllabus and some of the elements of our class that we'll be sharing this summer. So, first of all, my name is Walter Strickland. I've been a faculty member here at Southeastern Seminary in the College of Southeastern for 6 academic years now. Time has flown, and a lot has happened in that time, but my wife and I are grateful to be a part of the Southeastern family. As far as my own academic background and journey, I started my bachelor's degree in biblical and systematic theology at Cedarville University in 2002. I graduated in 2006 with a bachelor's degree there. Then I came on immediately to Southeastern Seminary, where I earned my Master of Divinity, Master of Theology, and went on to do the PhD in theology at University of Aberdeen in Scotland. So I too have an affinity for this institution as a student, as a staff member during my time as a student, and now as a faculty member who also is an administrator as well. So my dual title here is, the first one is Associate Vice President for Diversity, and then also Assistant Professor of Systematic and Contextual Theology. So I do have 4 children. One's with the Lord. My second one is Kendra. She's 5. And then I have a son who's 1, and then in between them, I have a daughter who's 3. And so that is Hope, our oldest daughter, Kendra, Kaya, and then Trey. So Trey meaning Walter III. So anyway, that's a bit of information about my family. My wife is named Stephanie, and we're just glad to be a part of the Southeastern family. So as far as the course goes, we've got a lot of work to do. This is an intensive course, so usually we have about 14 or 15 weeks to do all this work, but it's condensed into about 10. So this is not for the faint of heart, but I'm glad you're with us anyhow. So if you have a syllabus in front of you as you're watching this, you can just follow along down that with me. So if you're ever on campus, which many of you guys might be off campus, but if you're ever here, feel free to come visit me. I'm at Stevens Mackey 137, and you'll have my email there if you want to reach out to me in advance to let me know that you'll be hanging around. And so the grader for the course is Alex DePrima. There is his email address there. So if you have questions about quizzes or tests and that sort of thing, please email him, as well as for quiz questions and things like that. He'll be grateful to help you, glad to help you. If you want to make an appointment with me via on campus face-to-face, or even over the phone, email Fabian Anderson. Her email is there as well. And then if you come to campus, you'll encounter Miss Bush, who will be able to help you and find your way to me. So yeah, that's the crew who makes it all happen. And so if you have any questions, feel free to email them, or even email me, which my email is on the very top of the syllabus. And so as for the readings, there are 2 textbooks, and you can see those 2 course texts on the bottom of the syllabus. The first one is A Theology for the Church, which is the 2014 edition, which is green, not blue. And so if you have the blue one, you're going to struggle with some of the pagination, trying to figure out where some assignments begin and end. And also there are whole chapters that are different from one version to the next. And so, and we're going to do our quizzes over that information. And the second book is Timothy C. Tennant's The Theology in the Context of Global Christianity. There's only one edition of that book, and so if you buy it, that's going to be the right one. So, and that'll be a fun read for us. And so, as far as the quizzes, to really go over the reading to see if we've done it, each quiz will be 6 questions. The first will be a question regarding how much of the reading you've completed. And then the second through 6th question will be questions about the reading, the content itself. So there's going to be 12 quizzes throughout the course of the semester, and we're going to actually drop 2 of those for you. And so if you have any sort of unexpected things that happen throughout the semester, if you have a time where you're on vacation and you just couldn't get to it, or you have, whatever it might be, those 2 drop quizzes are there as a means of grace to you. And then also, if you just don't do well on 1 or 2 of the quizzes, then we'll just go ahead and drop them. So do your best, and then we'll just drop the 2 lowest ones. And so there you go for the quizzes. As far as the exams, there's going to be a midterm and a final. And what you'll find is that the exams are going to be 25 objective questions each, which is true, false, multiple choice. And those will be the first 25 questions. And then you'll have 3 essay questions 2 of the essay questions will be about the course content, like the objective questions, and then, the lecture content, that's Dr. Hammett's notes, which is the objective questions, and also 2 of the essay questions. You'll be given 3, and you'll be asked to answer 2 of them. And then the last question is going to be about the tenet reading, which I'll give you those questions in the syllabus. And so there's 1 question about the tenet reading for the midterm and 1 for the final, and that should be on the 3rd page of this syllabus that you have before you. So those are the exams, the midterm and the final. And also onto the theological integration paper. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but there are 2 threaded discussions that I'll talk about in just a moment when I go over the course schedule. So on the 2nd page of the syllabus, you'll see that the content of the course, which is pretty self-explanatory. This is Theology 2, not Theology 1. So it will be Christology, Pneumatology, Soteriology, Ecclesiology, Eschatology. And in those, we'll be doing readings in the textbook. We'll be doing lectures, which are Dr. Hammett's lectures that he'll be doing online. And then beyond that, we'll be doing some threaded discussions and things like that. So below, you'll see the grading and how that breaks up percentage-wise. It's fairly even, 25 percentage points down the line. And then also, you'll see that there's a late policy, and late work will be penalized at the cost of a letter grade per day. So what I'll do is we'll grade the assignments as if they were turned in on time, and then we'll just dock 1 grade letter per day that they are late. And so if you have some extenuating circumstances on tests or papers or what have you, just let me know. Usually those have to do with situations that are completely out of the hands of the student. And so a death in the family, something tragic happens. Usually it's something that's very tragic like that ends up getting an extension. So let me know if you have any questions on that. So the grading scale that's there under that, but this course schedule is where I like to hone in for a little bit. The reading up front is a little bit heavy because we're trying to condense a whole semester into a condensed semester. And so you'll see the readings there, and the readings that are there for the Aiken text correspond with the quizzes. And then also to the right of that, you'll have in-class lecture, which is really just the lectures online. You'll have the types of lecture content, the subject matter for the lecture content that you'll be listening to online. And so that'll correspond there. And also you'll see assignments. There is a paper proposal due the week of June 2nd. And you'll see the content of that will be given to you under the rubric of the theological integration paper in the syllabus, which we'll get to in just a moment. There is a threaded discussion before the break and then after the break. Be careful to look at when the open and close dates are and times are for that. Same is true for each of the quizzes and for the midterm and the final, because Moodle is fairly heartless in the sense that if you start your quiz or threaded discussion or your exam only moments before it closes, it will close no matter how short of a time you've been on trying to do your exam or your quiz or your threaded discussion. So be mindful of that. So if you have 60 minutes to take an exam, you have to start that exam more than 60 minutes before the exam actually closes to get your full and allotted time. So moving on through the assignment section, after the threaded discussions, you'll have paper submission, which hopefully won't be too bad because I would have given you some feedback after the proposal, and then you'll have some more content there. So the final exam is there as well, and there you go. So the last day of the class is April 9th. So the paper is one of the most daunting portions of the course that folks are usually a little bit nervous about, but hopefully it won't be too bad. There's elements of the course where people will have, or you guys will have the time to end up engaging with the content with me. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more, a little bit less guesswork. And so by way of just letting you know, there is a sample proposal and paper on Moodle, so you can look and see what I'm looking for as an example when you have these assignments coming due. So there's two elements to the test, which is the paper proposal and the submission. And as you can see, the paper proposal has a couple of working elements. One, the working title, another is the proposed thesis, and the next is the project summary, the working outline, and bibliography, and so forth. So just as a way of letting you know, at this early part in the semester, I'm not expecting you to have your final title, final thesis statement, and everything nailed down perfectly. What I'm hoping to do is to begin the process of having you think about your writing early on in the semester. So this title is working, meaning that it might not be your official title, but it's one that's getting at the subject matter that you're going to discuss. Next is the proposed thesis, and as you'll see on the example, a thesis is not a long statement. It's basically identifying what you're talking about and then telling me what you're going to say about that subject matter. So if you're going to do a paper on the atonement, the extent of the atonement, you can say, I'm going to argue for a limited understanding of the atonement. That is your thesis statement. It doesn't have to be long or verbose, basically a generic subject matter, and then what you're going to say about it. So let's see if I can make up another one on the spot. Pneumatology, a lot of folks like to talk about continuationist or cessationist views of the spiritual gifts. You can say, this paper will address, this paper argues for a cessationist view for the spiritual gifts. You're talking about spiritual gifts, and you're going to argue a particular view, which is a cessationist view of those of that content or that topic. So there you go. So a thesis statement is to be very short and concise, telling me those two things. And so next is a summary of the project. You get to write a paragraph or two describing what you hope to accomplish in these sorts of things for your paper. The next is an outline, and that outline has actually been prescribed to you on page 4 of the syllabus. You'll have an introduction and then some theological perspectives that, different ways in which theologians historically and contemporarily have discussed your topic. And then you'll give me your position and then some objections to your position in the next part of the paper, and then also theological integration points. And so essentially use each of those headings, and sorry that there's no number by the objection section, but that is an actual heading for your paper too. But as you walk through these required headings, giving the theological perspectives that you're in conversation with, your perspective amid those perspectives on the issue, the objections to your position that are often held by those other theological perspectives, and then based upon your theological position, lastly, what are some theological integration points for that? So, and that is in essence your paper. And so throughout the semester, if you have any more questions about that, feel free to ask. But in your paper proposal, that is going to be what you give me for your working outline. And so essentially, when you hand that in to me, I'll help you shape your thesis. I'll help you shape your summary, your outline, and then you'll have this bibliography, which does not have to be comprehensive. And you are not obligated to use all 15 sources, but it's just a way of showing me you are familiar with the lay of the land. You're familiar with some of those things there, the books and the different interlocutors. And so, and if you find some more resources that are more helpful later, feel free to use those. But those 15 sources are just kind of helpful for me to show me that you're doing your work. So if there are some seminal resources that you're neglecting, I will tell you about that. And essentially, I'm going to end up grading your research paper. I will take note if you have turned in a proposal or not. If you do well or poorly on the proposal, fear not, because the goal is to help you to write a good paper, not to help you write a great proposal. So with that said, I'll give you commentary and feedback, and then hopefully your paper will be stronger because of it. So, but if you don't turn it in, I'll take note of that, and then you'll be docked for not having turned that in. So And with that, I think we've reached the conclusion of the introduction to the syllabus. If you do have any questions, feel free to email me directly, or if you have other questions, I'll be glad to help you. So this is Dr. Strickland signing off. Look forward to journeying with you on this class, Theology 2 online. Grace and peace.